Everybody, I am Cinnamon Cooney, your Art Sherpa, and today I'm going to show you how to paint part 2 of our Winter Wonderland fairy tale. So we finished yesterday in the previous video, part 1, where we got all of the background and middle ground landscape in. I'm going to explain to you everything you need to know today to paint in the two girls and the fox step by step. Now, how I'm going to do that is my husband, John.
Hi, guys.
He's going to track me with one of our robotic cameras. And he's going to zoom into the action, and he's going to make sure that you see my color mixes, that you see my techniques, that you see everything I'm doing. While he does that, I'm going to do my best to break it down and simplify it and explain what's going on. Because honestly, if you can see it and you can understand it, you can probably do it. I think the hardest thing about painting when you're really new to it is just not knowing what's going on, what layers go where, how techniques work. But once you start to see those, you can start to create them for yourselves, which is always my favorite thing. I've been loving seeing the halfway marks that we've been sharing in group. I cannot wait to see the finished pieces. If you go to the website and you check the description down below, you'll see a link to our website. If you go to the video pages for these, you're going to see step-by-steps. You're going to see a traceable. You're going to see lots of extra instructions, links, help, aid, websites that could be good for you. I just really pack those pages with as much stuff as I think could help a beginner have a really awesome painting session. Now, this is our reference, and you're welcome to grab that off the website to download. Like we talked about last time, I have used the tracing method, right, which is this here, to transfer my drawing onto the canvas. Messing with John today, right? And underneath this is Cerl paper. It's in yellow. If you check the description down below, you'll see a link of where you can get that for yourself. You could also just rub white chalk on the back of your traceable. These are available for you to print out for free, and you would just do that method to get it on. If you've never traced before, guess what's in the website on the pages for this?
What's out there?
A how to use the traceable video. It's very short. So just know that I don't expect you to know anything to do this, and I'm going to try to make sure that I'm explaining so much that even if you're really new to this type of painting, you're like, wow, I could really have this go. Let's look at the paint colors we're going to use today.
Okay.
All right, so we're going to put our reference and our traceable aside, right? And now we see our halfway point, and it's really 2/3 of the way. Today, we're just going to be doing our fox and our two girls and a little bit of front snow. But I wanted to give us time to really be able to focus in on these figures and be able to really create these for ourselves. And I know sometimes the figurative part of the painting is maybe the most challenging to somebody that's new. A lot of times as artists, we get this sense of, oh, it's hard to paint people or it's hard to paint foxes. Little secret kind of Neo, the Matrix insider tip. This is the red pill, so, click away if you don't want to enter out of the Matrix. But what it is that everything is the same to paint as everything else. A rock is the same to paint as a tree, is the same to paint as a person, is the same to paint as a glass, is the same to paint as clouds. It's actually about understanding the techniques and value that allow you to paint anything. And once you get those down, nothing really will stop you. It's a psychological block. Like my whole thing about I struggle to paint cars. That's about a psychological block and not really enjoying that type of linear perspective. But it's totally doable. And it's not that a car is any different to paint than anything else.
Gotcha.
But I don't like painting them, so I don't. But I sometimes do. I have a few on the channel. All right. Colors today are burnt umber, burnt sienna, yellow ochre, quinacridone magenta, cad red medium, dioxazine purple, phthalo blue, cad yellow. This is carbon black, but you could use Mars black and titanium white. If I have to, I'll get a tint white or a zinc white, but I'm going to try to do this without it because I know sometimes going out and getting more paint colors is super aggravating. However, if you can get one of those whites, I highly recommend you do. They're super useful. Sippy, sippy.
Ah.
And this is why sometimes people say, you're so chatty.
Well, you have a few things to say.
I have a few things to say. Now, I'm going to put on my vision enhancers so that I can really see what I'm doing. And let's start in the fox. Now, when we start in the fox, I'm going to do not my darkest value, but about 2 shades or at least 1 shade above my darkest value to paint in this shape of the fox. So let's look at what that could be. And let's pick a brush that's going to let us paint it easily. I just washed everything, so I should have a ton of them out. Let's use a number 4 round. We used one yesterday. Should be fairly nice to use today. Do you know, where did my rags go? They're all gone, John. Did we move my rags?
I don't know.
Mind. All right, we'll get me a rag in a minute.
I'll find you a rag.
Yeah, I have 1,000 of them. They keep running off. I'm not sure what's going on with the rags this week. So I'm going to pull out my burnt sienna and a little bit of my my burnt umber and my burnt sienna, and I'm going to mix them together. It's going to give me kind of a half tone. And I'm going to paint in all of the outline of my fox. Now, huh? Same color whole time. Going to just do the whole line. Now I'm here on the fox. I'm going to be very lightly on the toe of my brush, hardly pressing, a little bit of a kind of flicking stroke to help imply fur. And I'm going to come in and get this little ear in and a bit on the little brow. And I find it's just best to do a little bit at a time. I kind of overloaded my brush there, and you can tell when it's overloaded because it gets a little thick and unwieldy. And I come right here. Now remember, you can always add paint. It's a little challenging to take it away, so proceed cautiously if you can. You're going to notice this is a bit transparent, and that is okay because this is the first layer, and it's going to paint out enough of the background where I'm not going to be struggling. You can see when I press hard on the brush, the stroke widens out, smooths a bit, and lets me absolutely fill in a large area. And then I'll come along here on the back, feathering this edge to sort of go fur, 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 fur. Because, you know, fur, 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 fur. Just painting in that first layer of color. Burnt sienna and burnt umber. Not our darkest color, not our lightest color. Down one leg. And it's okay to take the legs a little bit past where the traceable is because, guys, we're going to put snow around them. Can't put snow around what's not there.
Yeah.
So making the legs weirdly long will let me come back with a little bit of snow and put his paws, you know, into the snow as they would be if they were weighted. Going to come down the chest and again, feathering that out lightly. He's got a beautiful stance here, I think. I have a whole collection of fox imagery that I like to work from. There's another one with a little girl feeding a fox. And then there's a little prince and a fox, a fennec fox. And I have to say, of all of them, I think this is my favorite positioning of the fox. Just like, it's just perfect for what this image is.
Now you got him sort of gotten in there a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to, Agasable would like to say, how's it going with little Pear sticker? She
Pears.
says, Pears.
Pears. And I got bubbles, but you can't see them.
Are there bubbles?
I got bubbles.
There's bubbles.
You can't see them.
There's bubbles.
I got bubbles.
Look at that.
And I see them. I got bubbles.
So thank
you for the
Agasable.
pears.
Yeah.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. Wow, I can't see your camera at all. Your blurry little red dot far, far away because I got my magnifiers on. That's funny. Okay. Funny to me, I guess.
Hey, look, only a few stray bubbles now on the. We're getting a little better bubbling.
I just need to know what I did with that. I'm going to hop and I'll be right back.
Okay. Bubble aim.
Paint rag.
Look at that.
Paint rag. Now.
Oh, wrong button. That's the button. There we go.
I'm going to do a very similar thing on the girls and their coats. We're going to start what's called blocking in. That's where I take that kind of not totally deepest value and I block in the zones where that color might be. So like if I'm doing the coat, you know, again, the coat might be a little bit of the color that I've already got and some of this yellow ochre. All right, so let's put all the coat in as you might want to, as I certainly would want to. Just painting in that little coat.
Bubbles made everybody happy. But especially
made me
Patty.
happy.
So thank you, Patty. We love you guys, your support. We really do appreciate it.
I got the bubble thing cleaned. He's been on it lately, guys. He's just been making things happen.
Trying. We got stuff.
Got stuff to do. My dad is visiting, so that's always an interesting time when you have family visit, isn't it?
It is. I like having family visiting.
Now, sometimes I might sit there and go, oh, what one am I looking at, right?
Especially when it's not my family.
So, like, when I'm going right there, I'll be like, what am I looking at and how far does maybe an object go? Right? So that's another good time to sort of evaluate all of this. I'm going to take some of this on my little cuffs here as well. I'm going to show you a trick on how I'm going to make sure I don't lose that sleeve. I'm going to get just a little more yellow ochre into my mix. That's going to make enough tonality difference in my sleeve. See that?
Mm.
Enough tonality difference in my sleeve. And then back to that first color to get this little bit of the cuff in. And then we have another little cuff here that's part of this figure. See, that's part of this figure. So sometimes I have to pull my reference closer just to make sure, especially when I'm wearing my vision enhancers, that I'm getting the right one in. I'm going to come into just my burnt sienna. I'm going to do most of her coat and everything in that. I've just got to figure out where I think I've got brown. Coming up here is brown. Carefully around that one figure's face. Certainly down the shoulder. Because her little leather fur coat is a little bit different. Right? And then a little bit here. Maybe some there. Now, on her outer sleeve, I'm going to come back into maybe a lighter color because I know I've got to say that the sleeve is a slightly different value than the coat itself. And this is just keeping me from losing what I've got. Rinse that out, guys. Now we're going to do an interesting kind of thing. We're going to take our Doc's purple, a bit of our quinacridone red, and some of our cad red. Makes a really lovely color, and we're going to paint in some scarves. Yeah, scarves. Everybody got some scarves on. All right, scarves are happening.
Mm-hmm.
Underneath our mittens is a scarf, scarf, scarf.
That's interesting, the purple.
Well, it's going to have a little more red value to it, but we're putting that deep purple value in right away. Just to make sure that we've really got a handle on it. You know, we want to go into that. It's actually, believe it or not her scarf. Some of this color will go under this coat here. And then a little more into the red for her undercoat. It's just like these little dresses that are underneath the coats the girls are wearing. Sometimes it's hard to realize, right? I'm going to go ahead and get just a little bit of this. Even though I know I've got a lantern, I want to make sure that the coat pulls in far enough so that I have room for the glow. There we go. A little rinsed out because my brush was getting gummy. Mix, 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 mix. Cad red medium, Doxazine purple. Here and down is this other purple scarf. I won't worry about the little tassels yet, but I will want to add them because I think that they added a lot to the feel of the piece, in my opinion.
Hmm.
The little strands and tassels.
I like them.
Yeah, this is just the sweetest piece. I can't even imagine how, honestly, how the shot was acquired.
I imagine that this is some shopping.
No, man, I don't think they shopped. You can look at it, but I don't think they shopped. I think they shopped the glow. When we say shop, we mean Photoshop, digitally edit it to create it. Sometimes that'll happen.
Huh. I mean, I'm not a photo editing person, but I would love to know what lens combination was able to get that, like, that's
Oh, you
pretty
mean
good.
them in the central and the way the landscape is lit?
Yeah.
Oh, I think that part is edited.
I mean, there's some stuff happening here that says,
I'm going to get a little purple and kind of go behind this little sleeve just to make sure I have a little shadow here. And when I have those in, guess what I get to put in next? The mittens.
the mittens.
Which are going to be a little bit of my magenta and some white here. We're going to do a pretty, again, remember, deep tone, and we'll come back with highlights and shadows to define that space. But sometimes what it is you've just got to get that base paint in.
Maintain low tones.
Yes, you do need to maintain low tone, sir.
But that's okay, because we come from France.
We do come from France. You know that.
I do.
You know it. All right, I'm going to get some of that
this...
red and purple here, and I'm going to come around what is going to be
Speaking
the
of
lantern.
From France, are we using any French paint today?
We are not. I think we have one. We have the Senlier in yellow ochre, and then the rest today is the Artist Loft level 3, because you know why?
Huh.
It's what was clean.
It was
organized in the studio today.
I figured there was a half good chance we had something French in our
half good chance for sure.
It's
okay. So we've got the little scarves, faces, a bit of this lamp, and then we will have done what's called blocking in. Now, in this particular case, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and get some of my red. I'll tone it a bit with my purple. And I'm going to do her scarf mostly with this color first. Very gently painting around the lines of her face. She's got a very cute, delicate face. How is everybody?
Good.
Did they come
really
back to
good.
see how it finishes?
Yes. I would say yes, they did.
Wonderful. You never know what's going to happen when you do two-parters. So you can see we're doing this. And why am I doing the red? You might wonder that. Why is it the red on her multi-tonal scarf?
Why?
I look at what's the predominant value across a zone, and I paint that in. I can always do touches of paint or color as I layer up, but it's best to just go with a predominant tonality, and then you work in those details as you go.
That's interesting.
So her scarf is predominantly red, even though it has this beautiful patterning on it.
That's true.
There we go. That's lovely. Now, the back of her scarf is a bit red-purple, isn't it? And a back here towards the back.
That's
and that's
true.
what's tied and going down all over the place on her. So I'm going to take half of this and do that darker value. The front half, I'm going to do a little bit of white and yellow ochre with a smidge, and I mean a smidge of the black.
Oh yeah, that really is coming in.
Yeah, it goes fast. There we go. There we go, there we go, there we go again. Okay. Now I'm going to take, just to help myself out, a little of my black and brown. A little bit, okay?
Little bit.
And before I put in all the features, I'm going to come here and where I've got our little nose defined, I'm going to put in a little shadow. And a little shadow and a little shadow. Because as I paint in that base skin tone, that's going to help me not lose these micro features that I might be trying to paint. Because when you've got faces small like that, you're obviously going to be painting not really high detail. You're going to paint a few highlights and a few lowlights.
Right.
So base skin tone I'm going to use today will be yellow ochre in quinacridone magenta. Maybe a touch of burnt umber. I'm going to very carefully touch in under the chin. Kind of around the face. Up over that little black mark on the eye. And maybe a bit right here on the side of the nose. And then hers is again going to be this color sort of under the chin. And there's a little bit here. I'm going to get some more white into it. And you can even get a little cad yellow. And then I'll fill in everything else. And that'll give me enough information that when I come back with my detail brush to paint her later, I'll know where my features are. And that's really what it is. It's just knowing where my features are. So if all I've got to know is I've got the two eyes lined up there and my nose here, everything else will fall into place. Now, if you've never done faces before, I have a big art quest about face. And it can help you sort of understand how faces are constructed if you're not familiar. And it's okay if you're not. Now, I lost her eye a bit, so I'm going to come back with a little bit of this. The brown, the burnt umber, and the black. I'm going to come put her little eye in.
What brush is that you're using?
I'm using my number 4 round for my Art Sherpa line. All right. Last thing we've got to do is I'm going to put in the basic structure of my lantern. So, and I will simplify the lantern.
You just need to imply lantern.
You know, sometimes things are very ornate, and that's awesome in a photograph, but not as great on a painting unless you're doing like higher realism, which would mean a much longer class. Just much longer. But this gives me enough to be able to say, oh, hey, there's a full-on thing going on here. And then I'll take a little of my red over to my yellow and make my first dim glow. That is blocked in, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to go ahead and take a picture of this, take my vision enhancers off, rest my eyes for a second, and sort of take it all in, as you do.
Get your little reference of this.
As promised, I did yesterday's and I'm doing today's. Isn't that wonderful?
Yeah.
Sippy, sippy. I'm going to miss my paint so it doesn't dry out on me. If you guys have any questions while I'm gathering my thoughts, it's a good time to ask them.
Let's see here. We had some. So, do you have a number 2 in your paintbrush series that rounds?
No, I wish I did.
Yeah.
I have small details. I have number 1 short handle details, and they're quite fine. And then I have a fabulous brush. It is a number 2 filbert. So it's a tiny, tiny little filbert, which is really nice to have around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the what did it? Yeah, your brush. There were a lot of questions about your brushes up here.
Oh yeah, happy to answer.
Now let's see here.
I'm actually, what I'm doing right now, and you should be doing right now too, is just sort of calmly looking at your painting. You've got water or beverage, sip your water or beverage, your coffee, your tea, whatever you're drinking. I'm drinking Kavita probiotic drink. Not a sponsored plug. I'm just saying what it is because I know someone will ask, like, what were you drinking? Kavita.
They were commenting that a lot of your brushes maintain that sharp point. Is that?
Yeah, our brushes are made from a product called Sherpa White filament. Basically that is a more resilient tack line that is designed to withstand acrylic paint in a little more hardy way. Because as you know, Acrylic paint's a little harder on our brushes than, say, a watercolor artist brush or an oil artist brush. And so by using that more design product specifically for the medium, it helps our edges stay sharp and true longer, which I very much like about it. You know, you still got to wash your brushes out after every painting session and reshape and take care of them. But, you know, if you're doing that, they will do better in the long run.
Are long-handled or short-handled better or worse for hand cramping? That's a stump you. You're like,
It's so situational. What I would say is what's best is to pick the correct brush for your distance from your surface. So if you're sitting, you're going to want a short handle, and it's going to also help with the fatigue on the hands. Normally, if you're at an easel, you stand a couple feet back and use the full length of the brush to make marks. And there's a whole thing about how they're counterweighted, and that can help reduce it. But it's about being able to get some distance. I'm in doing weird detail work that I would normally switch from a standing easel to a table easel, but I don't do that in my show. So I just get all crowded up in here. And then I step back when I need to step back. So I just use a mix of it, but I also don't have a lot of hand fatigue. Also try, there's these support mitts that leave your fingers out and your thumb out, but their compression can really help. Remember, keeping your hands warm and not letting them get cold can help with how fatigued your hands get during a painting session. So even just like those weird, quiet little hand warmers on your arms, so what if they get a little paint in them? They're for painting, but you just don't want your hands to be cold and cramping up, and you want them to be a little warm and limber. And you can always warm up your hands a little bit. This sometimes helps. If you've ever done those little exercises.
Used to do that
It's probably weirding everybody out. It's like, what is she doing with her hands?
No, you're just exercising.
Just exercising the hands. It works. You know, it's a good thing. Now, I'm going to get down with a couple detail brushes. So I'm going to pull out some of my details. I'm going to be working through my monogram liner, right? That comes in my beginning and end set. And I'm also going to be using my number 1 that's in the open stock. But what you're looking at, you can get monogram liners in different brushes. You just want one that's resilient for acrylic paint and not too soft because it'll work with a heavy body. Don't you think that's lovely? And I'm going to keep working with my number 4 for big areas. So this is going to be real interesting. What I'm coming now and do is I'm going to take my brown and a little bit of my black. And I'm going to come into my tail. And I'm going to put this darker value here. And you can see I'm making little dashing marks. All right, little dashings. It's not going to be on the outer edges too much because that is the hair that's more in light. This is about the deep hair. Definitely going to be adding some of this little kind of coloring to this part of the leg back here. And a bit here as well, coming down on the front of the haunch. Maybe placing some through here. You'll see little touches of this through the fur, so I'll just bring a bit of it through. Notice I'm painting very loosely at this stage.
Very loosely.
Slowing down where I've got to get a little more precision oriented. I'll go ahead and give some dark fur area I can play with there. So what it is I know I'm going to come over with some lighter fur, and I need some dark to showcase underneath that lighter fur. A little bit at this elbow and down the leg. Front of this leg, and again at that joint. It is the cutest little fox, isn't it? Now, a little bit of a dark color here, a little bit at the nose, and some very delicately at the jaw. And let's catch this ear as well. And round it out at the base. Getting the general shape. Now, I may come in with my monogram just a bit, guys. And I'll put it back. I will lose it and put it back maybe a couple times. That's too much water in that mix. So I'm going to soak it up with my brush. And it's going to be a little awkward for a second. So what we're going to do is we've got some interesting stuff. We've got kind of some golden red hair on our little fox, right? So let's take our yellow ochre and our burnt sienna and start to speak to some of that. Kind of up the ear a bit and over the top. I'm going to roll this out on my brush, right? I'm rolling. I'm getting just on the tip. There we go, back down the muzzle. So that dark is just barely visible for the front of the face because it's very much in shadow. And this can be kind of frustrating until you learn how to make little tiny adjustments. And in paint, sometimes the journey is attrition.
Huh.
A little bit right here. Fur is a lot of fun to do, in my opinion. I've got a lot of videos about fur. Fur is generally a dance between the texture of the brush stroke, some directionality, value, those kinds of things. Maybe a little bit here. And definitely some more of this, like at this part of the tip of the tail. Maybe like right there a bit. And you can see we're already starting to get a little shaggy. All right. Now I'm going to come in and let's take out a little bit of that there, and let's add some cad red to it. That's quite red, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm going to just put some of that very redded.
Quite
red. Little fox fur here. Maybe coming down the haunches. Across that front zone. Blending it in. We get this in, and then we're going to come back and rock the details, my friends.
Mm-hmm.
We got to go this far to even get into that space.
It's looking great.
It's going to be amazing when it's done. He's going to be the foxiest fox in the whole forest. All the other foxes say, "Oh, he's so handsome." That's what the fox say.
Is that what the fox say?
That's what the fox say. True fox. The fox. Huh. Sorry. I'm just, see me dashing this brush? This is about dashing the brush strokes, isn't it? Paying attention to the directionality of the fur and just making sure that our darks and lights, right? And it's a good time for me to take a picture.
And then when you come back, I'll have you come back over here and go over the colors that you've got on the palette here. So that we can,
happy to.
And that fox really is turning out nice.
The step-by-steps are important because they allow you to really see what's going on.
Mm.
What do the fox say? All right, so the colors are, and I'm going to miss them again as I readjust my earbud. How are you guys doing?
Good.
Okay. Burnt sienna, burnt umber. This is carbon black. You could use Mars black, titanium white, cad yellow medium, phthalo blue, dioxazine purple, cad red medium, quinacridone magenta, yellow ochre. That's all. Oh, it's so pretty.
Oh,
we're really going to play with the light. We're going to do a little more than the photographer could do with the light on the snow.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
You're going to make the snow aglow?
We're going to make the snow glow. I think that'll be more important than anything in this particular piece is to allow the snow to glow. Now I'm going to come back with my monogram.
Yeah?
Yes.
Your monogram liner?
I'm going to get my monogram liner, and I'm going to get a kind of yellow ochre. There's a little burnt sienna. I'm just trying to make a nice kind of cream fur color. And as lightly as I can, dash in a little bit of that highlight at the muzzle. I have a lot of fox tutorial, just so you know. If you like this and you're like, This is my jam.
Need more fox.
I need more fox. It's cool because we got some more fox for you.
There's a couple.
All right, I'm going to just come here and add a few of these little of these hairs.
One could say Cinnamon's been having a conversation with the fox for a while.
I like them. Pretty. Just adding a little bit of these light little guard hairs right there. Maybe a few through here. See this little kind of mark I'm making? It's very fur-like, isn't it?
Yeah.
And this is where we put the detail. We don't necessarily paint every hair through a creature, but we will, in the end, in the final detail, that's where we start to get that big detail in. I'm going to get some of my burnt sienna and, if necessary, some yellow ochre into it, and kind of tone this fur through here. If I need to add water, if it's too hard to do it like this, I'll do it like that. Adding it directly to the palette because I need enough for it to flow. Now, if you're painting all the time and some of this is really challenging for you, what you may find is having both all your colors in both heavy-bodied and fluid can be really helpful. But I can still modify. What I'm wanting to do is get that kind of fur blend going on.
It looks really cool. Your fur blend.
I'm blending the fur. These layers underneath still helping, though, show value, aren't they? Try to make your brush strokes go the direction of the fur on the reference. Directionality, also a big deal when you're doing the fur. Pretty lovely. And then maybe a little even yellow ochre into that. It's quite bright. I'm just making sure that the paint's thin enough to really flow. There's a couple little runs of hair right there. And then there's a little bit that comes down here. And let's add this right here. It's sort of that gold, isn't it, that the fox has going on. Fox fur has a lot happening.
Yeah, it's very...
Never doubt it. Not that you were. I'm not accusing you of doubting the fox fur.
No. Run up to a fox and say, "That's fake fur."
Dude, I don't think that animal would say, "Yay!" I think they would say, "I'll eat you. Don't touch me."
They're surprisingly big.
Are they?
Yeah. They're like, they're tiny foxes. Whoa, that's a big, it's a skinny, fast creature that looks half cat, half dog, but maybe smarter than you, and you're not realizing it until it's that close to you.
So it's looking at you going, yes, evolution didn't work out the way you thought it did it?
Yeah, it's like, you thought I was cute from far away.
Now you're not so sure.
It's much less so like with a puma. That's like, oh, you're a really big cat.
And then I can always come back into my brown fur, right, that I have here, and blend anywhere where it's necessary. I'm going to get some white into this mix, kind of like a highlight. Maybe a little highlight right there. See a little
Yeah.
highlight?
Turned out really nice.
A little highlight right here. A little bit right here coming in. There's a bit. Something happening here. That's looking lovely. A little bit right here. I'm loving these little highlights. They make it for me, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe one right there at the little kind of hawk there. And then a couple places in the tail happening. Happening there. All right, I might take a picture before I resolve fox.
So you have to resolve the fox and get his quote so you know what he's going to say?
Yep. Because what does that fox say?
Oh, I know.
He says something.
I'm
going to get a little of my brown here. And it really worked out on the brush. And you'll see me roll out. That's about me trying to move the paint to the tip. See, I want it on the tip here. Detail brushes for stuff like this is really, really helpful. Now, I'm going to get into this black and brown. All right, you can see me thinning it if I've got to use my mister to add just enough water to thin it. And again, I can do it drop by drop, but these brushes aren't designed to really like hold a ton of water, are they? And what you see me doing there is getting that deep shadow that kind of comes into the fur. You guys know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
There's a deep shadow that you get to see in the fur. And we're going to do just a bit of it, not all of it. If you do too much of it, it'll overwhelm your piece really quick. There's a bunch of it right here happening at the haunches. Just those deep shadows sort of showing. And then we can kind of see some of it through the back, right? There's a bit right here at the neck. Another bit at the haunch. A little bit down the legs. And then if anywhere you're like, oh, that's more than I want, you just come back with your primary fur color. And so you can very easily soften those guard hairs in. But still keep them showing where you want them to. Anyways, that's what my fox says. What does your fox say?
Well, apparently, the fox in the room says, when are we going to do more USB kits?
I don't know, John. When are we going to do more USB kits?
I was just saying that what I'll probably do is go through here and see if I have enough materials left to do last year's kit. And if I do, I'll toss a few of those up in the store. And we're probably going to have, at the beginning of the year, some new ones available. But again, those will all go up for patrons first. Just That's how it goes.
That's how it goes.
Because patrons get the love first. So patron store, I'll send you guys a newsletter out to let you know if I have any. And then
Doesn't our fox look lovely there?
Yeah.
He looks nice, doesn't he?
I like it. It's a serious fox.
Serious.
It's no joker. That fox would like to say, "Got any snacks? I do Scooby snacks."
He does some type of snack, doesn't he?
He's like, I'm
into snacks.
Yeah.
Human snacks. I'm going to take a little bit of my magenta and yellow ochre again. Little burnt umber. And what I'm going to do is I'm just making a basic base for Skintone. I have in the description below a book that I oft recommend about, I'll just add a little overt magenta into this space right here. Just going to kind of work that from there, and then I will have my white over here for when I need to lighten my skin tone. So we're going to start just defining the lip bits, the teeny tiny bits that are going on. So I'm going to load up my brush with a little bit of white and a smidge of my master skin tone. And that will come off the brow, down the nose, the highlight right here. And it's going to be interesting sort of touching that in because, you know, these are small little micros. I'm going to also put a little bit of a nostril here. Right?
Yep.
And then a little bit under this for that lip. And then a bit of, again, highlight for where the chin's going to be. I'm going to add a bit of a highlight above the eye. Smidge out on the cheek, I think. Maybe like some right there. And then while I've got this great light color, I'm going to continue on because it's here. So she's got this sort of little wonderful, and if I'm going to make sure that my paint is flowing off my number one monogram liner in a lovely way.
I made a mistake of assuming everyone would know what we meant when I said USB kit.
Oh.
we packaged together a project kit with paint, brushes, surfaces, all the materials you need to do a project, along with a USB card that has all of the videos on it and some extra stuff like traceables, some printables, some extra lesson stuff, you know, little bonuses. Sometimes we even get like cups with Sherpa on it or aprons, you know, fun stuff.
You just never know. I'm
we
gonna
put
add
that
a little
in a little
pink
kit
right here. I'm going to go ahead and get some of this on my brush.
Because.
And we're going to just. Lips are halfway between the nose and the chin. Halfway. And this is going to be touch and go. I'm going to come here and just touch. Notice that what I'm doing is I'm trying to get as fine of a point on my brush as I can while still having paint attached. Right? Rinse out. Back into your base skin tone. Under the eye, kind of coming back. Just making sure you know. And this I use for my shadow. The master is what I use for my shadow. So right under the chin, right? Because that's where our shadow would be. And around the outer edge around the scarf. A bit down the bridge of the nose. Add some water if I need to. If you haven't seen little tiny faces like this done, this is just a great way to kind of go, oh, that's how I could do that. I'm going to blend that back into my base skin. Tap that there. Inner lid. Outer eye. So that's what I'm trying to do, is I'm trying to get little tiny marks that tell me where stuff is going to be. Bit of my dark skin tone here at the corner of where the mouth is. I'm going to maybe add some yellow into my magenta mix. I know I get quiet sometimes, but I, like you, sometimes have to pay attention to.
You should get that focus going.
Yep, sometimes you got to be like, what's happening and where is it happening at? A little bit of that right at the back of the eye. I need it to be softer than that. So that's the danger of the washing detail brushes in deep dishes, is that they can capture a bit of a drop, and then you've got, it hits your canvas, like becomes like a water quill pen. Now, once that's all in, into my dark, I'm gonna come here, and you see me doing like these little kind of little lashes, right? Downward. Into my brown. Hard to do the brows, they're a tiny touch. Tiny touches on this whole painting is what it is. You'll often see me use my finger as a little palette.
Now, interesting. If you guys are looking for additional help or reference materials for these paintings, if you look in the link in the description down below, you'll find a link to our website. And the web page that's associated with this. Cinnamon often packs that page with a lot more information.
Yeah, I really do, because I understand these lessons go real quick. You may not even be sure what question you wanted to ask while you were here.
And Robin was just asking, John, is there more instructions or guidance for this painting? Because this is a lot to take in.
It's a lot. And speaking of, let me get this picture.
Sure enough, all the materials are collected up over on our website. So if you'll go look at the link in the description down below, you'll see that www.TheArtSherpa.com is where you can go to find all your relevant information.
My tip for this is, notice that I'm using magnifiers. Even if you're 20, hello 20-year-old, how are you? Even if you're 20, it's a good idea to have jewelry loops, something that magnifies for you, and detail brushes. Because what you see, you can do. If you don't have a good detail brush, by the way, the sharp point of a toothpick paints quite well. Fine art doll makers use them all the time. All the time. All right, so we got her face kind of basically in.
Yeah.
Just a little bit on her. I just wiped off any extra moisture on my brush. I'm going to come tap off that extra paint on my finger. I'm going to make sure that this eye has that same sort of, you know, value. I'm going to come here and make sure I've got my little line there, just so I'm remembering where my little scarf is.
Mm-hmm.
Now, scarf. Oh, where's my magenta? Let's put out some more magenta over by my cad red. Uh-oh, Puffy went away, John.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, it just went, it just,
Puffy down!
it's just gone. I mean, I know where it went. Does it make the sound bad when the Puffy's gone?
Nah.
Oh, I see it. Can I get it?
You can get it. Get the Puffy. Don't let
Look,
him
I don't
escape.
mean to be weird about a Puffy, but they want like $15 for these things, so.
Puffy stuff.
I stun-handed myself.
You got your stuffy on.
I got my Puffy on.
Puffy on.
My Puffy is good.
All right.
Now, her face is just a lot more involved.
It is. It's a
And
little
I'm
more
going to
detailed.
kind of get some of her scarf done because I put out the colors for her. I'm going to take a little bit of my cad red and my magenta and I mix them together. I'm going to come here with like a second layer of that. So this is really rich.
Got a impasto stuff happening, huh?
Yeah, I just got a little much paint on there. It's okay because it can go back here. Don't ever worry about it. It's all good. Now, down the scarf, we're going to get back into that purple, right? And red?
Oh,
where's
so
that purple and red?
there is just to make clarification, we have a couple of pages on our website. There is the project pages.
Yes.
So each of these videos has
their own web page.
Has its own web page on our site that we call a project page. On that project page, we collect up the traceables, the reference images. You can vote on your hoot. And
yeah, just step-by-steps go there.
Yep. You can even upload your image there now. And we've got all sorts of cool stuff
Comment.
happening. Yeah, you can get comments. People can love your work. It's all sorts of cool stuff. So that's neat. Oh, and we also have a patron page. So if you go to our website, to theartsherpa.com/patron, then you can find the information on how to become a patron.
Which we think is very cool.
2 different pages. So
now I'm pulling some long little strands of these purple down. Can you guys see me doing that?
Yeah.
And go right into the magenta and the cad red a bit more. And come here. So her scarf is really around her. Now while her scarf's around her, I'm going to just real quick come in and say some yellow ochre maybe and some white. A little bit of texture there. A little bit of extra color around here. We're going to grab the burnt umber and the burnt sienna and a little black. We're going to come right here on this inside and also make sure that the sleeve very well considered. Down the mitten and around the mitten. So we're just filling that in, right? The next part's going to be a little of our magenta. And it can have some yellow in it. It's a bit warmed. And a lot more white. Right here on the mitten, we're going to highlight. And here on the edge of the fingers, we're going to highlight. I'm also going to highlight the end of this mitten. We're going to highlight a bit of the thumb and maybe some of the roll on the mitten. And then I'm going to get into more magenta as I'm going forward. It's still going to be pretty pink, but just, and I do want a little yellow into that pink. I like mittens because they're just like, they're like little simplified shapes that you can really kind of deal with when you're painting. Get a little of my Dioxazine purple, makes a great shadow color. And I'll come here and where the mitten is closed, I'm going to tap in, see me tapping up and down a little bit of shadow to shape it. What you want to do. Maybe a little bit here where the thumb's going to be and a little bit at the roll of the mitten. And then you just come back again and be like, no, I need a lighter one. Now I've got a little couple mittens. You see your mittens? You see them?
They're very mitteny mittens.
They're very mitteny mittens. Just a little bit. It's just about those highlights.
So Victoria was just asking, I'll explain here while you're taking a little picture. So Victoria was just asking, what is a patron? Now, a patron is someone who comes in and joins. We got this little place on our website where you can come in and join. And we have different areas, and every month the amount that you select gets donated to our patronage, and those funds, Cinnamon, there you go.
Yeah, I'm looking at the painting too. And saying hi to everybody and sipping my drink because I'm like, you can see why I gave us a second day just for the figures.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And all those patron funds go to help keep our lights on, operate the studio, do everything we do. We get to have bubbles. See, I get to refill my bubble machine. She's I don't know where there the bubbles are. So all this kind of stuff is made possible by you guys, our patrons. And that's how we're able to maintain this free art lessons to you guys. And on our patronage page, we throw all sorts of fun stuff up there, huh?
We do. We got, and we also we're one of the few that still is like, it's okay to do $1 patronage. I know a lot of people have taken that away. You can absolutely do that. And you get a coloring page. Yep. You get a bunch of coloring pages, in fact.
We really appreciate you guys. We couldn't do this without your support. We really, our patronage is the pillar that helps support us and make sure that we can do this. You guys are the angels beneath our wing.
But also remember that there are lots of ways to patron. I do appreciate that way, but there's also like, sharing, commenting, saying nice things, being active members of our community. Mm-hmm. There's so many ways to help. So just know it's not like just one way. So that way does help. Pay the light bill. But it's not the only way. So realize, like, we've got a couple people who like always share a video, always have something nice to say, always are advocating for us, and that's also a big lift. I know I'm always like on about that, but it's all really helpful.
It is. No, all of this is what it makes it all possible, guys. It really does. So
now I'm not going to be like exactly the pattern that's on the scarves. That's not really my style.
You got to imply that.
I am probably going to just be implying that the whole way through. I'm going to get some purple And I'm going to come here and I'm going to talk about those little folds of fabric that go up. I'm also going to talk about the little strands that come down. Sort of. Because I think the little threads are interesting. That was pretty fun. And then I'm going to play with the pattern that they have here. So one of the things that they have is blue. Now I find when I do blue, especially phthalo, I need to add just a smidge of white so it really reads. And I'm going to just very carefully talk about the pattern without painting the very specific pattern that she has.
Mm-hmm.
You could, if you wanted to do that, you could absolutely get in there and be like, I'm going to paint this specific pattern. Nobody's going to slap the brush out of your hand. And you can spend, you know, a whole nother 3 or 4 days on this.
Yeah, they're what I would say is that these scarves and things culturally have deep significant meaning for some groups and people. And I thought it was really cool learning how beautiful these patterns are and just all the wonderful meaning that they can have. So I for anyone who understands that and you paint meaning into yours, that you have to tell us, because some of that stuff's really cool and you know, I'm still learning about it. So but I think like these are handmade, dyed, so, you know, these different scarves and things.
And I'm just touching in blue paint. Yeah, totally handmade, actually. These
I got
handmade.
lost in a YouTube hole on this once.
He does. John gets lost on a pretty consistent YouTube hole. So you can see I'm just touching in that pattern, right? I've just touched it in. I haven't gone like completely on it. And then I'm going to do a little bit of my yellow. That's green. I got to get a cleaner brush. New water.
New water.
If you're painting and your brush suddenly comes out dirty, what you generally need is new water.
All right.
Also, it's like these magnify beautifully for my canvas and do not let me see my palette very well. Everything okay? I'm on the palette cam. Oh, that was clean water. I have a clean water. I wasn't demanding clean water. I'm going to take a little bit of yellow and white together. And I'm going to probably brighten these up a bit. I'm going to add bits of yellow into the patterning. Little kind of touches here and there. And again here.
I'm going to say thank you to all the folks in chat today. It's really nice having you guys out here to hang out with me, keep me company, and while we're chatting.
John do love it.
I really, really do enjoy it. Even on days like today where I'm less talky.
Are you less talky?
I don't know. I feel a little less talky today.
So now we've got that kind of going on in there.
Someone's like, please stop talking. And I'm
Really?
all like, I don't feel like I'm talking very much today.
Somebody said, please stop talking?
No, I'm sure that like.
Oh, well, I mean, they usually do. There's a comment. There's always
Yeah.
somebody who's like, you talk too much when you teach. I'm like, well, I don't know why you're taking the classes then. Watch a demo.
There are other teachers you could go find.
Now I'm going to kind of do little patterns that are a little more, I guess what I would say is structural, using this little detail brush. You guys see that?
Mm-hmm.
Little structural details. Be structured. Now it will be fun. And you can kind of see that that pattern is starting to come in. I'm going to go right into my CAD red and load up my brush. Make sure I don't have one of those hidden and add these pops of red down the pattern. This is really fun to do in my mind. Hopefully it's fun to do in your mind. You're not like, this is the worst thing that's ever happened to me on YouTube. I started this painting not knowing what it was, and I'm forever painting. Yep, I put that earworm in everybody's ear today. I knew I was doing it too. So you can see how those little pops of red suddenly come in. And there we go. That's a scarf. How's she looking, yo?
Really good.
Isn't she charming?
Yeah.
Now, I'm very carefully going to take a little of my magenta and CAD red. And oh my gosh, so carefully. Make sure that I've got scarf. Framing her whole face. There we go. I think it's picture time again, don't y'all?
Yeah.
Picture time, it's picture time. Making step by step so you don't feel lost in a really complicated painting. Because that's what we do. That's how I got everybody, you know, how we get everybody through that big art quest. And this does count as a big art quest painting, guys.
Does it?
Yeah, it definitely counts as one of the big art quest fairy tales. I feel like it's a bonus fairy tale. It's a bonus quest. Is how we get everyone through those complicated paintings is that we just break it down into smaller bits. When I break a painting across 2 days like this, you guys can take on a lot more, you know, and you can probably do more than you think. And remember, even if you're really new and you're like, man, I don't know any of these techniques, you're learning a lot. The painting outside of it, not really a factor in what's happening in you as an artist. So realize that it's the act of learning how to build these structures up that you're getting the big growth from. Okay, now I'm going to come in with a little of my burnt sienna and my Mars, not my Mars, carbon black, but you could use Mars black. And I'm going to make sure I've got a very deep kind of color set going right here. Fruit fly from the banana. It is, John.
What?
It's a fruit fly from the banana.
There is a fruit fly from the banana?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
I know. It's very exciting.
It's very exciting. So it's about that time. So I think that feed's going to have to transition to I
think we should change it to the Bob Ross Chia Pet growing.
We might. I'm gonna.
Although honestly, guys, get this. Like it didn't even count for watch time. YouTube didn't even count that video.
Yeah, they were like, yeah,
it's crazy. Yeah. It's just crazy, yo. So probably still put it up anyways. I don't really care. But
yeah. I like.
I'm gonna take a little of my yellow ochre and some of my burnt sienna. And I'm going to paint a few of the little highlights where the coat is wrinkled. And then I'll go ahead and get a little bit into my CAD yellow and quite a lot of my white.
Patty's celebrating the fruit fly with us. little fruit fly celebration.
If there's a fruit fly sticker, that will trip me out.
Not a sticker.
So you got a little bit of the fur started?
I was just zooming in to see some of the fur.
Little fur, little fur, little fur. See, I'm just touching the brush up and down. And when I touch up and down, I curve these strokes a little bit. See? It's a little bit of fur, isn't it? Now I'm going to take my magenta and my cad red together, and I'm going to add just a smidge of yellow to the mix. Maybe even a smidge of white. I just want it mildly lighter. And I'm going to come down here and add some texture. Look at that. To the front of that knit part of it. Fun! Back into my pure magenta, and I'll just come finish this off down here. Look at that go. And then get my dots purple, make sure I've got a nice shadow under the 2 layers of the dress. But you can see now they're complete structures.
Mm-hmm.
I am loving her.
Oh, me too.
Last touch on her that I'm thinking right now. I may change my mind, guys, but last touch. I'm going to grab my detail brush and get some of that coat color that I had, that fur color. Add a little more white to it. And add just a bit extra. There you go. Ha ha ha! Oh man, I'm so into that. Are you guys into that?
Mm-hmm.
This is one of those things where it's like, you see the picture and you think to yourself, I'd really love to paint it, but I don't know how I'd even go about it. That's why I do these classes, so you can see how you'd even go about it. I've done all these Holly Hobby girls. If you think this is cute, check out my girl in lavender. Check out the little girl in blue bonnets. Check out the 2 sisters holding hands in the daisies. Like, oh, the little girl in the lantern holding the lantern. We do this pretty regularly. We've even got some boys. We've got a boy and a girl in the rain, and we've got a little boy fishing, and we've got the little boy sitting on the moon. There's a collection of these children pieces.
Mm-hmm.
So if you love that kind of like big-eyed child, Holly Hobby, fairy tale, magical thinking, magical realism, which is really kind of what I'm doing, go check out all of those. It's a whole collection, and people are very successful in doing them. So I'm going to take a picture so you guys know what the heck was going on.
Another layer of this.
Huh?
Just get another layer in there.
Another layer?
The picture of this stage.
Yeah, I've got to get a picture of the stage.
Oh, there, wrong way. Oh,
what am I, what?
I just moved the camera the wrong way.
Now we just have our little girl here and some snow, and it's really actually not that far away.
Yeah.
From being super done. But let's finish her little face. She's so cute. Right? Let's finish her little face. I'm going to get into my nice little, I'm going to get some of my skin tone into the, there you go. That's why I mix up a bunch. That's all dry already. It's okay. I got some here. There's always little bits around. Skin tone, yellow ochre, right? Little highlight right there across that little cheek. Let's get a little bit of the magenta in there and a little of the yellow ochre in there. Skin tone, super easy. A little bit of this kind of pinker light color underneath there, and let's make sure we've got something kind of coming around the chin. A little bit above the eye.
Now, Victoria was having some trouble with her reds popping.
Her reds aren't popping?
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes your reds aren't popping because your water's dirty. Sometimes your reds aren't popping because it's a student paint instead of a professional paint. Sometimes your reds are not popping because you need to upgrade from hue to an actual pigment. So there's a couple reasons why your reds won't pop.
Tell her about that hue over there.
That hue over there is a great way to save money, but if you want to know what the difference is between cadmium yellow hue and cadmium yellow, I did a whole blog about it on the website and in the Facebook group that actually sampled it, and then I sampled it in new Liquitex and all the stuff. I'll say my very favorite cadmium yellow hue is in golden. It's by far the best, and it's actually cheaper than Liquitex's new version. But basically, most companies use Hansa yellow as hue, and when you look at Hansa yellow versus a real cadmium, it's not even the same yellow. That cadmium yellow just vibrates. It's why cadmium's not like something we want to eat and have inside our bodies, right? But it makes a really good paint. So if you don't like that, there's some new yellows, the benzodines. I can never say them. There's a new group of yellows that are incredibly saturated. I found even Golden's Hansa yellow is better than most companies' other yellows. Senlier's got some incredibly popped ones. You want a lot of pigment in your reds. You want a lot of pigments in your yellows. Try a Pyrrole red. Wow, right? It's just, even if you want to get away from cadmiums, try Pyrrole red. It's so bright. I can just go on about that all the time. To shout out my mom, she's got a whole video where she swatches out all the reds and all the yellows and all the blues.
Yeah.
All of them. She was just like, I'm going to look at all of them. It's like, okay. I'm going to go ahead and get a little kind of white and yellow on here. And I feel like I just want to add one more touch to my highlights on the coats.
I like how that...
little bit.
Little scarfy scarf is coming out.
Scarfy scarf is coming out. So I'm going to need a little bit of my dark paint. I'm going to get something down here. I'm going to come to this eye and I will do that there. Maybe a little bit under the nose. I'm talking a little bit about that line around the face. And I think it actually comes forward even more from that. So I'll get my cream color and bring it right there. There we go. That's how close it is on her little face. It's really right there. So we don't see much of her little face.
Now I'm not sure if are these little scarves here babushkas?
I don't know. I make no I'm Merkin, I make no cultural guesses.
Well, that's some of the...
If you know, feel free to tell us. I don't know.
Sandra was saying that it reminded her very much of them. So
it very well could be.
I was just noticing they do actually very look at, because I thought it was kind of...
I'm taking my little skin mix over to my white to make a highlight. Yeah, it very well could be. Well, I overdid her nose a bit. Give her a Roman nose, so I'm going to come back with my clean brush and erase my thought here. See what I'm doing?
Mm-hmm.
I know I'm kind of in the way. I'm sorry, John.
You're not in the way.
Okay, I didn't know if I was.
Camera looks around you.
Why you designed it that way, I suppose.
Camera says Sherpa leans the wrong way all the time.
Okay, little highlights there, little pinking there.
Yeah.
And I do want to give her some nice lips, so we're going to come into like some lips. Maybe some yellow ochre and a lot of magenta. Some white. Let's get some little lips on there. I lost the puffy again. I don't know what's happening with the puffy today. It just went flying off again. Creating a little shadow back there. I'm just trying to create some little values so you can kind of see the face. But you don't want to see everything about the face. You just want to see some things about the face. I don't even know where it went.
Puffy free!
It puffied out.
It's a free puffy day.
I think it's tight down the back and it keeps tipping down.
Yeah, and it touches.
And then if I loosen it, it falls off the ears.
Just jumps off. Ow! I not mute myself. I'll mute you. and that way you can touch and move that around at liberal, and it won't make so much.
Yeah?
What's that?
Do you want me to get the puffy right now?
Your earpiece is on there, so I'll come fix you.
Okay.
I'll come get you.
You'll come get me later?
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got her very complicated little face in now, don't we?
Yep.
That was fun and very easy and not too bad. Wonderful for us. Let's start putting in some of the elements of her coat. Now, her coat was more based in the yellow ochre, smidge of the black. Are you on camera?
You're on.
Palette cam? Palette cam! Ow, ow, ow. It went forward, I think. Okay. There'll be a new puffy.
Yeah.
Well, thanks to wonderful contributions in Super Chat, we can get puffy, so thank you very much. See, you've already helped out in production because we got to go get new puffies. Now I'm adding a little bit of white to my color there. And I come here to the front of the sleeve. And then there's another little wrinkle I want to paint out. And a bit coming back here, right? Comes forward here. Just some right there. And then off of the back a bit. And then she's got this interesting little fold right here. A little bit of the highlight right here. A little bit of the highlight right here. Now I'm going to get back into my yellow ochre.
Oh, Debbie Miller just said thank you to you.
Thank you, Debbie.
And give you a wonderful Pear sticker.
New puffies, new puffies, new puffies. Get my puffies, get my puffies. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. You need bubbles.
Get some bubbles for that.
Bubbles are better. It's Texas snowflakes.
That's right.
Because this is what I get for winter. And if I don't get this, and any snow drops on the ground in Houston, everything will shut down.
It's true.
And everyone on the West Coast East Coast looks at us like, what are y'all doing? I'm adding this through here. Just kind of taking that color up a notch. And again, it's got a little black in it, right? So I'm going to add a little more black here. Kind of blend that up. Coming down the sleeve. All right, a little more black there. Let's blend that back, right? It's there, but we want to blend it. Underneath here. And again into the white. Right there on the back. And maybe a little bit right here where that fold is. Across the top of the shoulder. And so now we're starting to see her little coat. A lot more white. A little bit. There we go. Off the back there. Isn't that lovely?
It is.
So pretty. So let's get into this like deeper color for her cuff. Her cuff's a little different, so we're going to go like this. And I'll come back with my other brush in a minute. Let's put a little of our quinacridone Cad Red mix down here underneath. She's got that little velvet reflection. I don't know if you guys caught it. A little bit right there, since the paint's on there already. Now I'm going to do the mitten mixture. If you guys remember, that was a little bit of my yellow and my magenta and a bunch of white. So that's a mid-range mitten. And then just a lot more white. Right here and there on that mitten. And I may kind of tip it up the hand a bit so that the hand's a little more defined. See how that kind of defined the hand?
Yeah.
It's going to help too when we turn the light on. And take a little picture right here just in case this is a stage we need to talk about. Oftentimes I'll even throw all these little stages into an album in one of the groups. So even beyond, if you want more than even the step-by-step, sometimes that's helpful.
Oh, wrong button.
Are you guys liking this?
Really nice.
It's quite a thing, right? How is everybody?
Really good. Really, really good. They were asking, so Shaz was just asking, what do you do with the painting? And I was just saying, well, I will keep this for the entire community. So you just caught me in the middle of responding to chat out here.
Yeah, no, we do on occasion have little, what is it, trunk sales?
Sure, but we have, like a garage sale where we just go.
We have the studies from the show, and then we include a bunch of stuff that comes with it, like so brushes or pounds or interesting little bits of things that we have that's like branded Art Sherpa. Each is sort of unique.
Yeah, those have never actually made it to public sale because we end up selling out to our patrons first.
Like all of them.
Yeah, so what happens is that anytime we do anything like that, we offer it up to patrons in our patron store first, and anyone who's a patron, $1 or more, you get our newsletter. You can go in there and you can have access to that store. And there's special stuff sometimes in there.
Sometimes. And if you're in the Facebook group, sometimes we show it live.
Yeah. Yep.
So if you're in the Facebook group, you know it's just madness and mayhem in there. Who knows what's going on?
Yeah, we try.
Who knows? We're always doing weird projects in there.
These are little ways that we can say thank you to the people that help us make this possible. So we try to make sure that they have access to the cool things that we release first. Because, family first.
Well, everyone's our art family. Everybody's our art family, John.
Well, I just,
Please don't unsub. So what it is that it does really help us because YouTube isn't always a reliable place.
No.
And it does really allow us to keep going. So we should all send them light and love. Everyone who helps us in that way, every one of us should send light and love because they make it possible for people to learn art for free in 250 countries around the world. And that is actually why they patron us, because they believe in what's happening here. And they want to make sure that everybody, no matter where they live, no matter what their situation is, no matter what access they have to art education, that they can do this if they need to. And remember, the reason we like to keep the show free is it helps you buy more art supplies.
And all joking aside, guys, these are just ways that we can try to help make our patrons have a little extra stuff without affecting being able to put these videos out live and free for you guys.
Which we love to do, and we never, ever want to back off doing. All right. So I'm going to continue on. We're going to work up on our little top part there. So we have some white, right? I'll get a little white on my brush. And I'm going to come here and at the front of this, kind of at the top here, bring a little white down. Now, I feel like I see a little blue cast in that white. So I'm going to come here and add a little bit of that more neutral. This is still very much lighter. And you can kind of see how I'm blending that blue cast up to that little white cast before we get down into that. Now, as I come here, I'm going to do an interesting thing. Watch this.
What's that?
Let's get some white here. So I've got to break up this line to show that the pattern is breaking into this little more burgundy zone. I'm using the blue and white mix to get this done. Right? There we go. A little bit there. If I need to dip in water, I will. And this can come down a little bit on the front. Maybe some patterns happen there, right?
Yeah.
And then maybe a little bit right there. And I might even play and say, oh, maybe some happened here. Because I'm going to be playful. Then on top of that, I'm going to get some of my yellow ochre. I'm going to just kind of tap out a little bit of that yellow ochre. Kind of talking about some of the filigree work that's on this gorgeous scarf, right? Because it has this beautiful, beautiful filigree work, doesn't it?
It does.
It is the prettiest, prettiest scarf. Oh gosh, I'm really loving this. This is one of my favorite little kid pieces that we've done.
Yeah.
I'm going to take a little bit of my Cad Red and my Doc's Purple together. And maybe I'll show some of the patterns a little bit in the brushstroke that I'm tapping out. And see how that's starting to be her little scarf?
Yeah.
That's where that comes from. Okay, make this a little richer as we go down. And we can always come back into our Doc's Purple if we need to get some, you know, shading or texture. Look, we'll bring the little threads down. There they are, the little threads. Coming down off the scarf.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to come in and I'm going to use my quinacridone Cad Red mixture with a smidge of white. And my #1 round. You see how that's just popping? It's a powerful mix of colors, yo. There we go, as it comes down the front. There we go, her little scarf is in. Burnt sienna. Burnt sienna. Now let's get a little bit of our black. All right, I'm thinning it with water. You see me swirling it around, still using my #1 round, Art Sherpa round. Getting those little values in. All right, we're outlining that, we're showing that off. I'm going to go into my yellow ochre. If I need to, I'll use my finger palette. A little bit of that there. Now into the Cad yellow and some white. But I haven't rinsed it out. You guys noticing that? Just a little bit of that there to kind of show that. Now here's an interesting thing. I need to get my snow in before I do my glow.
Have to get more snow?
So I got to take a picture of these guys right here.
Yeah.
You can see where we're at in the steps.
So you have this step saved.
So we have this step saved. Now we're going to get our cat's tongue out. Put this aside for a second.
What's the next part?
Got to get some snow in.
Snow.
We got to start putting in some
More
stuff. So let's get a
snow?
cat's tongue out. Let's put out a little bit of our phthalo blue. Little burnt umber. Little phthalo blue. Little white. Let's kick it off.
Oh yeah, I guess you do need a little more foreground snow.
Huh?
I guess it does need a little more foreground snow.
It does, doesn't it? I'm going to come along the line. You know, and remember you can have like some pretty dark snow under here. All right. Back into the phthalo blue. And just pull that snow forward, right? That's my dark snow color. Now, as I'm going forward, I'm going to get a little more white into it. I'm going to just take the corner of my brush and highlight some of that little snow. See how we're doing? A little more white. There'll be a big highlight in a little bit, but we got to just kind of plop those bigger highlights along these points, keeping most of it focused in the central area. Guys, see how that's done? We are nearly done, by the way.
I know.
Like, if you're doing this with me and you're with me here, I have to congratulate you. It's no small feat to be here.
Wow. It's really just a couple more things here to do.
Couple more things to do. So I'm going to take just to give myself some clean paint, I'm going to take a little cad red and a smidge of cad yellow. I'm also going to get into some titanium white. These are all clean. These are all forward. I'm good on water, John, but I would suggest for people at home, this is a good time to change water for the last bit because you want this to be very bright. I'm going to get into my number 4 round. I'm going to take a little bit of my red and mix it into my yellow. Still pretty yellow, but you can kind of see the orange. And I'm going to come here to the top of the I'm going to come just outside. A little more orange than that for there. And you're going to come across the lantern and break the lines that you have, and that's the beginning of your glow. Do you see that? Now, while we're letting that have a minute, because we're going to have to come in and really brighten it, I'm going to take my yellow ochre and a bunch of my white and kind of finish out our fur, right, on our cuff. Good time to do it. Trying to get the right value. You know, you can always come in and be like, you know, towards the back of the cuff. It's a little bit darker. See how we're doing? And just highlight the front of that. A little yellow, a little white. And maybe the front here because the lantern would be on it. I'm going to get a little of my yellow and white right here. And I'm going to pop just a bit of that on the mitten and the thumb. See that?
Yeah.
Very important. Back into maybe some of the orange. And go ahead and kiss a little bit of the light right there. Because it would be, wouldn't it? More yellow in the center here. And then, I'm not going to rinse my brush, but I'm going to grab a lot of white. See that there? Now it's a light. Next part.
Oh. Now, I would normally caution you against yellow snow, but it would seem that this is glowing snow and not yellow snow.
Well, it's snow that is in some way a glow, I would say.
The fox made the snow glow.
Or the lantern, you know.
Could be the lantern.
You could go with what I'm implying is happening.
Are you saying the girls made the snow glow?
I'm saying the light made the snow glow. For sure, that's what I'm saying. There we go. We've got a little bit of glowing on the snow. You know?
Yeah.
And that's lovely. Add a little red to that glow. Warm it up. And so now what we have is a story of something quite magical that's going on. And guess what time it is?
I don't know.
Time to sign.
No way! Wow! That little glow right there it just came right together, and then
Didn't
that was. The little fox was like, "What you got to say to me?" And they were like, "Hey, little fox, it's all cute."
Now, in that, you have kind of a little fairy tale, don't you? This is magical realism.
You know,
and this is my favorite.
I would love to hear everyone's story about what's happening. Like, what did this fox say to these little girls in the woods?
What's the story of this image?
What did the fox say? Put it in the comments.
What did the fox say?
I have to wait until the video's over, so it goes in the comments.
Yeah.
Yeah. You tell us the story. What did the fox say?
Actually, I'm gonna put out some of my fluid white because I just want to have an easy time signing.
I amuse myself sometimes.
You should. I'm gonna come over here in the corner.
You leave me alone live, and that's what
Now,
happens.
you can see that because we let it snow earlier, but waited and didn't put the snow over the figures, we didn't lose them to the snow pattern. And that's why we did that way. So we could get the feeling of snowing, light snowing, without the feeling of snowstorm, where the figures are really covered in the snow.
Wow.
There's like a light snowing. And I am pretty proud of that.
That did turn out amazing.
Look at that, guys. That's art, right?
That's
the fun
great.
that is what we do here. That's why we do it. I really want to thank everybody for showing up today and being here for our live stream. I really appreciate you guys so much. And I appreciate the effort you put into every painting. I know your time is valuable. And when you're choosing to do a painting with me, it's a valuable part of your day. And I appreciate it. I love to see your paintings in group, Facebook group. I love to see them online. You can share these under this video page on the website. I love to see them on Instagram or Twitter or wherever you choose to share them with me, because this is exciting for me to do, but what's the most exciting is when you paint it. That is literally why I do this. Be good to yourself. Be good to each other. And we want to see you at an easel really soon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.